Well, what a week I've had. Porsche have been kind enough to lend me a Cayenne Coupe for the week. This is the, I guess you would call it the entry-level Cayenne Coupe, if there is such a thing, which means it has the all-aluminium 3-litre V6 turbocharged engine with Variocam, which produces 335 horsepower and 450 newton meters of torque. Very nice. Top speed in the brochure is 150 miles an hour, and 0 to 62 takes around about 6 seconds. So it's not slow, not by any stretch. Cayenne Coupe starts at around 62,000, just over. Now this one's got a few choice extras, so you're looking at 80,000, just a sniff over 80,000 for this one. A couple of the more striking optional extras are the lava orange paintwork, which is definitely an acquired taste, but I find more people like it than dislike it. I really like it. And it also has the Porsche Turbo Design 22-inch alloy wheels. You've got to have 22s on your Cayenne, haven't you? Gearbox on this Cayenne Coupe is quite interesting as well. Most Porsches have the PDK gearbox fitted these days, but this car is a little bit different. Essentially it's a workhorse, or you know, it's a little bit more rugged anyway. So this is fitted with the Tiptronic S. The Tiptronic S is fitted with a torque converter, which means it's better suited to off-road and towing. So it has a towing capacity of around about 2.5 tons, so you could easily tow your race car. In terms of chassis, we have all aluminium multi-link suspension, front and rear. Very impressive. With adaptive all-wheel drive, Porsche adaptive all-wheel drive all round. Brakes are mighty impressive on this thing. We have 4-piston aluminium monoblock calipers up front, massive calipers, biting down on 350mm discs, and at the rear we have 2-piston monoblock calipers, aluminium again, biting down on 300mm discs, and the brakes really are good, quite special. Porsche are renowned for excellent engineering. This isn't the first Porsche press car I've had, and the engineering, the level of engineering on these cars is phenomenal. The Cayenne Coupe is no exception. One of the many examples of this is in the body design. Really interesting. They use a galvanized steel and aluminium hybrid construction for the body. Well, for the whole car. This particular car that we're in has a few choice options, as I mentioned before. One of which is the lava orange paint, which I'm a big fan of, and I think it really suits the car. We also have black leather, full black leather, which is really nice quality black leather. I guess you'd expect that from Porsche. We have adaptive air suspension, which I'll explain in a minute. We have the sports exhaust on this one. Rear axle steering as well. That takes a little bit of getting used to, but very interesting. We'll cover that in a moment. We have the head-up display, which is superb. I really like that. And Alcantara roof trim, very plush, very nice. So let's run through some of those features. Head-up display, very interesting. It sits really nicely. It sits below your eye level, so it doesn't obscure your vision, and it displays pretty basic information. Speed is the main one, and to the right you have an abbreviated sat-nav, so you have arrows and roundabouts basically, and distance to the next obstacle. Rear axle steering is another optional extra on this car, and it's really interesting. For slow speed maneuvering, it's amazing. It's really good. This is quite a big car. It's about 2 meters wide by 5 meters long, but the rear axle steering means that you can maneuver in tight spaces really easily. It's a really clever bit of kit, very nice. At speed, the rear axle steering really helps with turning, so you tip into a corner and it's just razor sharp. Really, for a big car and an SUV at that, very agile. So in simple terms, you have several driver modes, like you do on a Panamera, 911 Turbo, whatever it is. In normal mode, it's essentially fully automatic. It softens the power delivery, so it's very nice to drive. It softens the suspension for you as well, so it's comfortable. It cruises well. It's got adaptive cruise control. So it's just like any executive, luxury executive car. You can flick the dial 1 to sport mode and then further to Sport Plus. Both of them pretty drastically alter the characteristic of the vehicle. They do all sorts of things. For example, when you click into Sport, suspension lowers and firms the ride. The gearbox characteristic changes. So with normal mode, typically, as an example, when you're driving through in traffic, you might find that speeds below 20 miles an hour, if you're just crawling along, you might even be in second or third gear. It would have already changed up for you, just to keep it nice and relaxed. In Sport or Sport Plus, that changes. It's quite the opposite. It's a sports car. So what it does is holds on to the gears for longer. A good example of how this works, right now I'm pulling up to a roundabout, I'm doing just less than 20 miles an hour, and it's in third gear, which is fine if I'm on a part throttle, just continuing. If I wanted to accelerate quickly in normal mode, put your foot all the way down to the floor, and it has to change down 1 or even 2 gears. There's a little bit of a delay when it does that. In Sport or Sport Plus, as you slow down, it's changing down through the gears, and it's always ready to go. So if I got to that roundabout in Sport Plus, it probably would have already changed down to first gear, and we're ready for the off straight away. The suspension I mentioned, so it has air suspension, and it's adaptive suspension. So you have various height settings, you can change them yourself, but ultimately in normal mode, you have a nice bit of ground clearance, and it's a plush ride. It's a very nice ride. In Sport, it stiffens the suspension and lowers it, and if you go around to Sport Plus, even more so, it lowers it further, and it's quite a firm ride then. Steering quickens up, gearbox quickens up, suspension quickens up. The exhaust note changes because it has sports exhaust on it. There's some valving in the exhaust, which means it opens up and makes it louder and more aggressive. And it's quite surprising how the character of the car can change. It's quite a significant change, and it's a lot of fun in Sport Plus. In terms of equipment and technology, it's absolutely rammed with technology, as you would expect with a modern car of this caliber. Pretty much every electronic aid you could wish for is on here, and it's all easily accessible. It works really well. You never feel overwhelmed by technology. It's still quite a visceral experience driving this car. The UI is very easy to use. There's a button you press to get to the app screen, and that covers everything. You've got breakdown call on there, you've got news, you've got Google search, you've got petrol stations. Everything you could want is on there, really. And it's really easy to use, very easy. The dashboard of the Cayenne Coupe is absolutely superb. It's very familiar. If you've driven any other Porsches, it's very familiar. The layout is typically Porsche, rev counter right in the middle, prominent. You have a digital display of your miles per hour, but on this car we have the head-up display, so it's on the screen anyway. You have, on the right hand side, you have a window that you can scroll through various pieces of information. At the moment it's displaying a full colour Google Earth satellite image for navigation, very clever. But you can scroll through, you can have the G meter, you can have your lap timer, you can have your temperature gauges for various things. You can have your trip computer, so it'll tell you miles per gallon, that kind of stuff. You don't really want to be looking at that. Now, we've lived with the Cayenne Coupe for a week, so we've got a reasonable idea of what it's like to live with, and it's just brilliant. It really is a brilliant car to drive. If you want it to earn its money, it's a workhorse. I haven't towed anything with it. This one hasn't got a tow hitch on it, but it's clearly got lots of torque, lots of power. If you wanted to tow trailers and race cars and what have you, no problem. We've put it to work as a family vehicle, really. So every day we've done school runs and we've done shopping and use it to visit customers, everything. And it really is a jack of all trades. When you come out from school run or from visiting a customer or whatever, and the road opens up a little bit, you want to have a bit of fun, you just flick the dial into Sport or Sport Plus and just start giggling. I shall be genuinely sad to see this car go back, unfortunately. Still, it's got to go back. I shall miss it though, definitely.